I'll never forget this. I was 4 years old and I was playing outside. It was very hot. And I walked inside to get something to drink and I saw a Pepsi can on the kitchen table. And I was so excited. But and keep in mind, at 4 years old, you're not really thinking about hydration and how water would be the better choice for playing outside. I'm 4 years old. I don't have a clue. So I thought, you know what, Pepsi, it's better than nothing. I like Pepsi, or at least at the time I did. And so 4-year-old me goes and grabs the Pepsi off of the kitchen table. And as I turn the Pepsi can up to drink what I was expecting to be cold, beautiful tasting Pepsi, instead what I got was warm, nasty Copenhagen snuff spit from my dad. My dad had left a spit can on the kitchen table. Now, I'm from the South. I'm from Tennessee, and that's a very chewing tobacco is just kind of what people do around here. And I was expecting Pepsi, and I got tobacco spit instead. And Dad figured out when I was in the house when I was gagging and nearly about to vomit. So Dad comes running in the kitchen. He takes a glass of water, pours it, gives it to me. I drank it, and then he gives me a piece of gum to chew. He had a procedure for this kind of stuff, apparently. And I chew the gum, got the taste out of my mouth. No, I didn't throw up. But I was expecting Pepsi, but I got tobacco spit instead. The outside of the can said it was Pepsi, but the inside of the can said otherwise. So did it really matter what the outside of the can said? No, it didn't. Because it doesn't matter what the outside says as long as the inside is nasty. It doesn't matter if it says Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Coke, Dr. Pepper. It really doesn't matter. And that's what Jesus is talking about today as we continue Satanic Christianity, as we continue to look at Matthew 23, as Jesus is going through the 7 woes to the scribes and Pharisees. And today he's talking about how people are just dealing with the outside, the flesh, the public perception, and we're not dealing with the real issue. And today, as Jesus is nearing the end of his verbal beatdown, call out, expose to the Pharisees, that's what he talks about. So let's go ahead and get into it in verse 25. Jesus says, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites." Again, still strong language there from Jesus. "You clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside they are full of greed and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisee. First clean the inside of the cup so that the outside of the cup may also become clean." The main point for today's message is Satanic Christianity never deals with the main issue. What's the main issue? Well, whether you're saved, maybe you're watching this and you're not, we all have one thing in common. We, saved or unsaved, have a sin issue. And that sin issue is created by a heart issue. And that heart issue is we want to be God of our life. We don't want God to interrupt us. We don't want God to deal with what's really going on. We don't want to deal with what's really going on in our lives. So what do? We focus on the external. We focus on public perception. We make sure outwardly we look the part. We go to church, we close our hands, we close our eyes, we raise our hands, we say all the right things. We know all the Bible stories. We know all the songs. We look the part. But we don't deal with the main issue. And that was the Pharisees' problem. They didn't deal with their sin issue. They didn't deal with their heart issue. So they just looked the part. They pretended instead of belonged. They acted instead of rested in Jesus. We talked about this last week. They were doing things of God, for God, and without God. And that is one of the big reasons why Satanic Christianity never deals with the main issue. We don't want to come to grips with who we really are. We don't want to come to grips with what's really going on. So we run. We hide. We pretend. We join a church. We join a youth group. We serve. We do all these things, hoping that if we do all these things, that God will leave us alone. But He doesn't. But here's the thing. You can't even get away from you. I want to blow some of y'all's minds here. Wherever you go, there you are. You can't run from you, even though you try. You can't hide from you, even though you try. You can't trick you, even though you try to distract yourself with all these other things. But that is the reason why you're miserable. That's the reason why you have no joy. That's the reason why you're not happy. That's the reason why you continuously run in a vicious circle. It's because you're not dealing with the main issue. Satanic Christianity never deals with the main issue. And this explains why some of you are getting nowhere in your battle with sin. This explains why some of y'all are still getting tripped up on this over the same things. This is why some of y'all have no joy. This is why you have no peace. This is why you have no happiness. This is why you're chasing all these things, running from all these things, hoping that it'll bring you happiness and joy and help you forget about what's really going on, but it doesn't. Satanic Christianity never deals with the main issue. And the main issue is the heart. The main issue is the inside of the cup. The main issue is that we have a heart issue still. Now, God gives us a new heart. I just read that in Ezekiel 36 this morning. God gives us a new heart, but here's the thing. With that new heart, we're able to tell right from wrong, sin from righteousness. We're able to tell that. So that's why we run, because we know in our heart that we're not living for Jesus. We know that we're not. We know that we're trying to play the game. We know that we're just dealing with the outside of the cup, hoping if we scrub and clean the outside of the cup enough that maybe the inside of the cup will start to clean, but it just does not work that way. The inside of the cup is where it's messy. The inside of the cup is where all the tobacco spit is, although it's pretending to be a Pepsi can. So what do you do? What do you do if you're watching this right now on YouTube or wherever you're watching this and you're going, oh shoot, that's me. I'm not dealing with the main issue in my life. I'm not worrying about the inside of the cup. I'm just focused on the outside. I'm focused on appearance. I'm focused on looking the part. I'm focused on just doing all the things of God, for God, without God. What do you do? This is what you do. And you're going to, when I say this, you're going to go, really? You seek to please Jesus above everything else. That's it. If you want to deal with the inside of the cup, if you want the inside of the cup to be clean, that's what you do. You live to please Jesus above all else. Because you know what my problem is? When I mess up, or if I'm afraid I've messed up, my thoughts are not, oh shoot, I've sinned against God, or I've put something in between our relationship. My immediate thought is, what will my pastor think? I'm a student pastor, and my thoughts are, what would my students think? What would so-and-so think? So I have it in me too. I deal with being more worried about public perception than I am with the real issue, the main issue. And that main issue is a sin issue created by a heart issue. So if I'm seeking to please Jesus above all else, that's how the inside of the cup gets clean. That's when the Holy Spirit does a work in you and through you. You see, Satanic Christianity tries to clean from the outside in. Jesus cleans you from the inside out. You brought nothing to the table when Jesus saved you. And we still bring nothing to the table now except a soul, a spirit, a desire to please Jesus above everything. If you go to Jesus with that desire, and just because you have that desire does not mean you're always going to do it perfectly, but the desire to seek to please Jesus above all else will start to clean the inside of the cup through the power of the Holy Spirit. And the things you are struggling with now, the misery that is caused by the things you're struggling with now, will start to dissipate. Because Jesus is working through you instead of you trying to work for Jesus and hoping he cleans you up that way. We can't work enough for Jesus to clean us up. We just have to go to him as we are and let him clean us up. So why should I seek to please Jesus above all else? It's the only way to deal with the main issue. You can't go to church enough to deal with the main issue. You can't serve enough to deal with the main issue. You can't do the things for God enough to clean the inside of the cup. The only way to clean the inside of the cup is to seek to please Jesus above all else. And the only way to do that is time with Jesus in his word and in prayer. We make things way too complicated. Spend time with Jesus and watch what he does in your life. Seek to please him above all else and just watch how the desire to just look the part and have the outside of the cup clean fades away. We'll be back in 2 weeks with week 6 of Satanic Christianity.